This is a basic cold frame. It's a wooden box that's open on the bottom so you can plant directly into the ground. It has a glass lid, or you could make a frame out of wood and put plastic on it. The glass lid can be lifted up or taken off. It's not secured or hinged, so you can take it off if you need to work on the plants, or if you need to vent it for the summer. If you need to vent it a little bit, you can prop some blocks under it. If you need to vent it a little bit higher, use a couple of taller blocks or rotate these around. To make sure the wind doesn't get behind the glass and pick it up and flip it, I've got some tie downs. One on each end, goes over the corner. Now we have an operable cold frame. In the colder months, when it may go to freezing at night, you'll be venting it during the day. Release your ties. Take your blocks out. And remember to tie it back down. So let's take a look at how to build one of these. The first thing you want to obtain is your glass. Or you can make a wooden frame and cover it with plastic to make your top. This happens to be a sliding door from a shower. So it's also tempered, so it's got a little better resistance against hail and breakage. This will determine the size of our box and therefore the size of all of our cuts. So the first thing I want to do is determine the length, and it is 54 inches. I have a bad memory, so I write it down in the wood scrap, so I write it on the wood. And the width is 28 inches. Under the measure twice, cut once. I'm going to double check that. 54, I wrote down 54. 28, 28. I'm going to move this out of the way so I don't break it. So the wood I'm using is a 2x12. It'll be used for the back and the two sides, and a 2x6, which I'll use for the front. That'll cause the glass to have a little bit of slope so the rain and the snow come off of it. So my length is 54, so I need a back piece that is 54. What I've done here is put a board underneath of the 2x12, so when I cut it, I don't cut through the table, and the board won't just fall off on the ground at the other end. Square up the line, but in addition, with this kind of square, I can use it as a guide for the saw. That's one piece. Let me sit it down for a minute. We said the next two were 28. They will make up the side. There's 128. you can either use your tape measure and measure the other 28, or so you would like the two sides to be identical, use one to mark the other. Do make sure you have some kind of safety glasses when you're doing this kind of cutting. You're kicking up a lot of sawdust. So that's the little bit of scrap I got. I'll figure a use for that later. Now I need to cut the 2x6 the same length as the front. And again, I can use the piece I've already cut as my ruler for the other piece. So this is an extra piece, we'll use it later for something else. Let's check that though. This was cut to 28. If that's the front and that's the back, and I'm going to put the sides inside of the front and the back, my resulting measurement should be 28 inches. But it's actually 31, which means if I put it together now, the box is going to be too big for the glass. The reason is that I forgot that because the sides are sitting inside of the front and the back, I need to subtract two thicknesses of 2x4. Each one is 1.5 inches for a total of 3 inches. So here's one of my sides, and it needs to be the thickness of two 2x4. You can measure that and see that it's 3 inches, or you can take two pieces of wood that you know you're going to use as your 2x thicknesses. And that's how much I need to take off of the two sides. This was my back. Put it over here. And to double check, that should be the 3 inches that I was too big on, which it is. So again, I can use the one I just cut to make sure I match it. So now if I were to put the side and the back and something the same thickness, the front, I should be at my 28 inches, which I am. So now the glass is going to fit, we hope. The next thing we need to do is cut the two sides from the 12 inches down to the 6 inches of the 2x6. Again, you can measure and transfer, or you can take a 2x6, lay it on top, mark the thickness thickness of the width of a 2x6, and then you can even use a 2x6 as the ruler to cut your angle. This is going to be a pretty hard cut to make and a long one, and it's going to be hard to hold that board. So I'm going to use a couple of clamps. I'll start with one at this end until I get the saw about halfway, and then I'll shift the clamp to the other end. Take the other board, the side, again, put the one you just completed on top, match it up, scribe your line. So at this point, I'm ready to assemble. I'm going to be screwing the front to the side and just have to butt this up. But I want to pre-drill those holes and then countersink them. So I need holes in the front and I need holes in the back. So I'd like to make certain that the holes I drill go in the center of the side pieces. If this is 1.5 inches, that means each hole needs to be 3/4 of an inch. A quick way to do that is a piece of 1x lumber is normally 3/4 of an inch. So if I put that on the edge, mark a line, if I drill my holes on that line, they should be in the center of the side pieces. Let me do the other end real quick. Again, I don't want to drill through the table. I'll raise that up. I'm going to use two different bits. One is to drill the hole for the screw, and one is to make a small countersink. Some people have a single bit that does both. I'm going to put 2 screws in the front. I think that'd be enough. And maybe 4 screws in the back. I'm doing a countersink because I don't want the heads of the screw to stick out, and sometimes the wood isn't soft enough for them to sink in. I'll go do the other end real quick. I'm going to use 3-inch wood screws. That way they'll go all the way through this 2x4, and they'll go another 1.5 inches into the side pieces. To make life easy, it's good if you simply pre-start them all before you start putting them in the sides. So we've got the back piece and the side piece. So now we have our basic box. Let me spin it around. Pretty close. If you look at it from the ends, because we didn't bevel the front and the back, the glass really doesn't fit tight. And if you look over here on the corner, it's too short because we didn't count for the length of the angle. But let me show you the trick on why that wasn't important, because that would have been a lot of extra work. If I take this basic frame and turn it upside down, watch what happens. Now, each of these corners is flush. And the glass, remember we used its measurements for the lengths of all the pieces? Now fits the box. Since what was the top is now the bottom, is going to go into dirt, it doesn't matter if it's uneven. And the box actually tilts a little bit towards the south face, facing sun, so that may be a benefit. The next thing we need to do is, we don't want this glass sliding off. So we're going to take a piece like this, a 1x2, roughly. We're going to make two blocks, one to sit here and one to sit over here. That'll stick up just enough to catch the glass. We could put a strip all the way across, but that's a disadvantage because when you've got rain and snow coming down this glass, it's going to get caught in here. If we just have a couple of blocks, they're enough to hold the glass, but most of the rain and snow will go right past it. So I need to cut maybe about a 3-inch block on these two. I'm using 2-inch screws to hold these on. That should be more than enough. Now you could go get your tape measure out again, or you could say, well, 12 inches in is probably good enough. And I happen to have this 2x12 scrap sitting around. So now we have our basic cold frame. We have a glass top that we can lift up. We can take off if we need to expose the plants or work on the plants inside. If we only need to vent it a little bit though, we need a way to hold it up. We could just take our scrap 2x, raise it up, put one under this end, put another one under this end. But that gives us limited flexibility in how much we vent it. We could use these two scraps and go this way as well. So we can go from 1.5 inches to about a 3-inch. So we have some options to consider there. The other thing we have to worry about is when the glass is on and there's wind, can the wind get behind it and pick the glass up and knock it off? So we want a way to tie the glass down regardless of how much venting we have. So our little wood blocks are going to keep the glass from sliding out. And that side's usually going to be pretty tight so the wind can't get underneath of it. What I'm going to use to hold the back side down is I have a cleat that I can put back here, and I have an eye screw that I can put over here, and then I'll be able to run a piece of cord from the eye screw over the corner of the glass and tie it to the cleat. Put one of those on each end, and I can secure the glass in various heights of ventilation. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put the cleat in, and I'm going to put it over here, reasonable distance. And that way it'll go over a good portion of the corner. I'm going to secure the cleat with about 1.25 inch screw, 2 of them. And I'm putting it at an angle because the rope is going to come across at an angle. Do the same thing to the other side for a minute. The reason I went down and did the other end was I needed to change bits because the eye screw is a slightly different size. I'm going to put it about right here. I didn't bring a screwdriver to turn this in, but I happen to have some drill bits. So I'll secure one end of the cord to the eye screw. It's going to go over the glass and it'll wrap around the cleat. So the other end doesn't unravel, I'm going to put a knot in it. So there you have it, the finished cold frame. Few basic parts. Remember the trick? You assemble it basically upside down, flip it over so the glass fits correctly and on a smooth surface. We added some blocks. We've added some tie downs.